Hello, my name is Kim Biggio, and I'm a credentialed parent educator with a certification in positive discipline. And today I'd like to talk to you about the 4 steps to set an effective limit. This is huge for parents, and what I'm going to present to you will actually offer you a formula so that the consistency is built right into the program. So let's go there. What is the first step? The first step is all behaviors are driven by an impulse behind the behavior. Let's think about it. If I'm sitting down on the TV and I'm watching the food channel and I see all these wonderful, yummy things to eat, I might decide to get up and go look in my refrigerator to see if we have any snacks at home. What drove me to get up from the couch is the impulse to go look for some food. So the impulse behind the behavior is what drives it and is 99% of the time not negative. The next step would be honoring the emotion that is being experienced, reflecting upon that. Many of you might have heard the phrase active listening. Well, a lot of times people think active listening is just making eye contact and being a good listener. But guess what? That's not it. Being an active listener or reflective listening is mirroring back to that other person and using the emotion as the foundation of what they're mirroring back. So that's step 2. So the first step, honor the impulse behind the behavior. The next step would be to reflect upon the emotion that is being experienced. The third step in setting an effective limit is providing basic information to children. It might be really shocking to you how many times parents assume that their children know very basic information. In addition to that, I teach parents to create mantras in their family, repetitive statements that underscore the values of the family. So, for example, some mantras in my family were, we use our words to speak about how we feel, and we keep our hands on our own body. We treat people the way we want to be treated. Those are 3 basic mantras that I often used in the information section of this limit setting process. The last step would be setting the limit. It is so important that the language is correct, because what is the goal here? The goal here is to teach intrinsic behavior from within. So the 4th step in the process is the parent getting down to the child's level, looking them in the eye and saying, Johnny, you can choose to do this, or Johnny, you can choose to do this. Each choice comes with a corresponding consequence. Because think about it. If you're really looking to modify behavior, behavior is not modified unless there's a consequence that comes with that behavior. If you robbed a bank every day and got $5,000 and the teller just smiled nice at you and said, thank you, have a good day, maybe you would rob that bank every day because there wouldn't be any consequence of why you shouldn't. So those are the 4 steps in how to set an effective limit, but let me put it into real life framing for you. We're going to use the example of Joey and Johnny at the park, because if you just go at the park with young children and look around the park and observe, what you will see is that very often children violate the concept of personal space. And so that creates conflicts right there. So let's use an imaginary Johnny and an imaginary Joey. And Joey runs right up into Johnny's face, violating his personal space, and Johnny does this, pushes that child. Guess what? Old school parent would say, no pushing, stop, don't push. But what we learned from the previous video is the human brain does not process negatives, so that will not work in terms of modifying that child's behavior. What is the first thing we should do? Honor the impulse behind that behavior. Looks like you wanted Johnny to move, because that is what the impulse was that drove that behavior. Now let's go to the emotion. It can oftentimes be scary and a startle reflex if you have somebody running up to your face. So the 2 sentences would be, looks like you wanted Johnny to move. It can be really scary to have somebody run up to your face. But now we're going to the information portion. We need to keep our hands on our own body. We use our words to speak about how we feel. And let's throw in another one. The park belongs to everyone. Now we're at that beautiful place where we're going to set the limit. So we get down to that child's level, we look them in the eye, and we say, Johnny, you can choose to keep your hands on your own body and continue to play at the park, or Johnny, you can choose to play on the one slide that's across the park where no other children play. Guess what? 9 times out of 10, your child will test you and look you straight in the eye and go push somebody else. And then what do you do as the parent? You say, looks like you've chosen to go play on the other side of the park. I have a lot more to say about this, but the last thing I will leave you with today is I call this program IEIL, Impulse, Emotion, Information, Limit. If you remember that phrase, IEIL, when you're in the heat of the moment with your child, these tools and techniques will come into your mind and you will utilize them.